Imagine a world where the air slices your lungs like shards of ice, where endless fields of white stretch beyond the horizon, and survival depends on fire, stone, and courage. In this frozen wilderness, colossal shadows move in silence. Woolly mammoths, towering beasts wrapped in thick coats of hair, their curved tusks like ancient scythes against the snow. Yet these giants are not alone. Hidden in the darkness of caves and forests lurk dire wolves, cave bears, and the most feared predator of all, the saber-toothed tiger, its dagger-like fangs flashing in the pale light of the moon. And in the middle of this unforgiving land stands a fragile figure, humankind. No thick fur, no natural weapons, just bare hands and fragile flesh. Yet somehow, against impossible odds, they endured. They hunted the mammoth, fought the predators, braved the storms. But the question remains, how did they survive the deadliest winter in Earth's history? And what secrets still lie beneath the ice? The last ice age, known scientifically as the last glacial maximum, unfolded between 115,000 and 11,700 years ago. Vast sheets of ice blanketed much of North America, Europe, and Asia. Temperatures plunged to extremes, reshaping entire continents into frozen kingdoms of peril and silence. Where today lie forests, fields, and rivers, once stood glaciers as tall as mountains, grinding the earth beneath their crushing weight. In this hostile world, ecosystems were dominated by giants. Herds of woolly mammoths roamed the icy plains, accompanied by woolly rhinoceroses, musk oxen, and reindeer. Predators adapted to the cold. The dire wolf hunted in relentless packs, the cave bear defended its frozen lairs, and the saber-toothed tiger struck terror with its iconic elongated fangs. Every step into the tundra meant danger. Every shadow carried the threat of death. Amid these titans, early humans, Homo sapiens, struggled for survival. Physically fragile compared to the beasts around them, they relied on ingenuity rather than strength. Unlike the Neanderthals, who were already fading from history, these modern humans carried with them the power of cooperation, communication, and innovation. They mastered fire, crafted spears tipped with flint, and learned to track the massive herds that meant both sustenance and risk. But the Ice Age was more than a test of survival. It was the crucible in which humanity's identity was forged. Here, around communal fires beneath star-filled skies, stories were told, knowledge was shared, and bonds were woven. The struggle against cold and hunger was also a struggle to preserve family, kin, and hope. This was the world where humanity's destiny balanced on the edge of extinction. A frozen frontier where every hunt could feed a tribe, or destroy it. 1. The daily life of humans in the last ice age was a constant negotiation between fear and resilience. Imagine waking at dawn inside a cave, the flickering light of embers barely holding back the grip of darkness. The cold was relentless. Frost clung to every surface, and the howling winds outside carried the cries of predators echoing across the tundra. Yet, despite the danger, survival demanded venturing beyond the fragile safety of firelight. To hunt the mammoth was both necessity and gamble. A single mammoth could feed an entire tribe for weeks, its flesh sustaining bodies against starvation, its fat fueling fires, its bones and tusks serving as tools, weapons, and even the frames of shelters. But bringing down such a beast required more than courage. It demanded strategy, patience, and unity. Hunters worked together, forming coordinated drives. They used their knowledge of terrain, pushing herds toward bogs or cliffs where the colossal animals were more vulnerable. Spears tipped with flint or obsidian pierced hides that no lone hunter could hope to overcome. Every thrust was backed not just by muscle, but by generations of shared knowledge, passed from elder to youth. And yet, for all their skill, failure was common. Archaeological evidence reveals mammoth bones fractured by desperate blows, cut marks etched into remains where tribes scavenged what predators had left behind. Sometimes, the hunters became the hunted. Packs of dire wolves, larger and stronger than modern wolves, stalked humans, waiting for the moment when the exhausted fell behind. Cave bears, towering over twice the height of a man, defended their territories with ferocity. And hidden in the snow, the saber-toothed tiger, the most feared predator of the Pleistocene, ambushed with deadly precision. Its fangs could puncture the thick hides of giants, and against human flesh, they were even more devastating. But survival was not just a story of violence, it was also a story of ingenuity. Flint knapping, striking stone against stone to shape sharp blades, was an art as much as a craft. The finest points, razor-edged and deadly, became spear tips and knives. Mammoth bones were carved into harpoons, awls, and needles. With them, humans stitched together hides to create clothing thick enough to withstand the bitterest winds. Shelters were erected from mammoth bones, lashed together and draped with skins, creating domes that resisted the fury of the Ice Age storms. The hearth was the heart of every group. Fire was more than warmth. It was survival distilled into flame. Around it, meat roasted, sinew dried, and stories unfolded. Archaeological finds reveal blackened hearths in caves, surrounded by scattered bones and fragments of tools, a portrait of communities gathering, eating, and passing on knowledge.
This is what we use.
Firelight illuminated not only faces, but ideas, carrying forward the essence of culture itself. Beyond survival, humans of this age left behind echoes of imagination. In caves across Europe, from Lascaux to Chauvet, painted walls reveal stunning depictions of mammoths, bison, reindeer, and even lions. These images, etched with ochre and charcoal, are more than mere art. They are testaments to a mind reaching beyond the immediate struggle. The paintings may have been guides to the hunt, spiritual invocations, or simply the expression of awe in the face of nature's giants. Whatever their purpose, they show that even in an age of hardship, creativity thrived. Social bonds were the invisible thread binding these fragile groups together. To survive meant to share. Food was divided among the tribe, ensuring children and elders lived to see another day. Injured hunters were cared for, their broken bones mended, a fact revealed by skeletal remains that show healed fractures. This compassion was not an accident. It was the foundation of human endurance. Alone, no one could stand against the Ice Age. Together, humans forged strength greater than the storm. The Ice Age world was also a place of constant movement. Herds migrated across the tundra, and humans followed. Entire tribes traveled vast distances, leaving behind tools and traces of campsites. Genetic evidence tells us that during this time, small bands of humans spread across continents, weaving the early patterns of our shared ancestry. These journeys were not without tragedy. Many perished to cold, hunger, or predators. Yet those who endured carried with them stories, skills, and bloodlines that would one day unite into the species we call our own. Still, even as humans adapted, their world was changing. The climate began to shift, warming slowly but inexorably. Glaciers retreated, rivers flowed anew, and grasslands expanded. But this transition spelled doom for many of the Ice Age giants. Mammoths and woolly rhinoceroses dwindled, unable to withstand the dual pressure of human hunters and a changing environment. The cave bear, once the undisputed lord of the frozen caves, vanished. The saber-toothed tiger, that ancient specter of fear, faded into extinction. For humans, however, these changes became opportunity. Warmer climates allowed the growth of new plants and the expansion of resources. The seeds of agriculture would soon be sown, but not yet. For now, the descendants of those who endured the frozen centuries carried forward the memory of mammoths, dire wolves, and saber-toothed tigers. Their legacy lay not only in survival, but in transformation. What emerges from this long winter is not merely a tale of endurance. It is the beginning of culture, art, and imagination that transcends survival. The Ice Age sculpted humanity into a species capable of dreaming while freezing winds howled, of telling stories while predators stalked, of creating beauty while death lingered close. The world of the mammoth was brutal, but it was also the forge that tempered us into what we are today. The wind screamed across the tundra, carrying with it a blizzard that erased all sense of direction. In the white chaos, a tribe huddled together, their fire extinguished by the storm. Hunger gnawed at their bellies. Their survival hinged on a single hunt. Ahead, a mammoth herd trudged through the snow, their silhouettes ghostly against the storm. The hunters knew what it meant. One beast could save them, or it could destroy them. The ambush began at dawn. Spears were raised. Voices cried out to drive the herd toward a narrow ravine. Panic rippled through the colossal animals, their trumpeting echoing like thunder. One young mammoth stumbled into the trap, its massive form crashing into the frozen ground. But victory was fleeting. The enraged herd turned, tusks slashing through the snow, scattering hunters like leaves in the gale. Screams pierced the air as one man was crushed beneath a stampeding giant. Another fell, his chest ripped open by the swipe of a tusk. Blood steamed against the ice, a brutal reminder of the risk every hunt demanded. Even success came with sorrow. Archaeological evidence shows mammoth bones splintered, deep cut marks etched by stone blades, but alongside them, human remains with shattered ribs and crushed skulls. The Ice Age was merciless. Triumph was paid for in blood. For every feast, there was a grave. And sometimes, death came not from the hunt, but from the predators that stalked the aftermath. A dire wolf pack, drawn by the scent of blood, descended on the kill site. Archaeologists have found gnawed human bones among mammoth remains, grim testimony to hunters who became prey. In the darkness of caves, skeletons reveal healed wounds, but also fatal ones: fractured skulls, broken spines, slashes from claws and fangs. Each bone is a silent witness to battles fought in shadows. Yet the greatest tragedy was not a single death, but the slow, inevitable vanishing of the giants themselves. As the climate warmed, grasslands shrank, and mammoths retreated north. Herds thinned until only isolated groups remained. Humans, driven by hunger, pursued them relentlessly, carving their fate into extinction. The last echoes of their trumpeting faded into silence, leaving behind only bones buried in permafrost and paintings on cave walls. The Ice Age ended not with a sudden cataclysm, but with a series of quiet losses. The mammoth, the saber-toothed tiger, the cave bear, all vanished. And humanity, scarred but enduring, stepped into a world forever changed. The last Ice Age was more than a chapter of survival. It was the crucible that forged the essence of humanity. In the struggle against cold, hunger, and predators, our ancestors discovered that strength alone was never enough. What ensured their survival was unity, compassion, and imagination. Around fires in frozen caves, they shared food, healed the injured, and told stories that gave shape to their world. Those small acts of solidarity became the foundations of culture. The evidence lies in their legacy. We find it in the healed fractures of bones that show care for the wounded, in the painted walls of caves that reveal the birth of imagination, and in the tools carved from stone and bone that symbolize human ingenuity. From these fragments, we glimpse a truth. Survival was not simply about outlasting the Ice Age. It was about becoming more than just survivors. For us today, their story carries a profound message. Humanity thrives not by dominating nature with brute force, but by adapting, cooperating, and learning. The threats may have changed, from saber-toothed tigers to climate change, from famine to overconsumption. But the lesson remains the same. Resilience comes from community, creativity, and foresight. The extinction of the mammoth warns us that no species, however mighty, is immune to the pressures of a changing world. Yet the endurance of humans reminds us that adaptability is our greatest weapon. In the face of today's challenges, from global warming to ecological collapse, the Ice Age whispers across time. Survival belongs to those who work together, who imagine new paths, and who remember the fragile balance that sustains life. The story of the last Ice Age is not just a tale of survival in a frozen world. It is a mirror reflecting who we are today. Our ancestors faced storms that could freeze bone, beasts that could tear them apart, and hunger that lingered like a shadow. Yet, through fire, ingenuity, and unity, they endured. They left behind more than tools and bones. They left us a legacy of resilience and imagination. Now, their voices echo through time, asking us the same question. In the face of our own challenges, will we adapt as they did? Will we rise together against the storms of climate change, conflict, and uncertainty? Or will we forget the lessons written in ice and bone? As you imagine the trumpeting of the mammoth fading into silence, remember that these great beasts once walked beside us. Their extinction warns us of fragility. Our survival reminds us of possibility. If this journey into the frozen heart of our past has moved you, join us in uncovering more forgotten chapters of human history. Subscribe to Human Odysseus. Share your thoughts in the comments, and tell us, if you lived in the Ice Age, would you have survived? The past is not dead. It breathes beneath the earth, painted on cave walls, and carried in our DNA. And here, on this channel, we bring it back to life.